an anti-corruption body within the constitution. Wanasema tu kesi zitakuwa zinafanywa kwa haraka. But of course, if you want to really deal with corruption, and that point was made, that it's not enough to say, I am very rich, I will not steal from you. So if you want to deal with corruption, you have an anti-corruption body within the constitution. It is independent. It is not afraid of politicians, of anybody. It can actually work on those who are corrupt, but they don't go that route. When we were at Narok in those rallies, those reggae rallies, the Narok people, the Maa community, talked about the land that they have been tunyuad since colonial times. When they would enter into an agreement with the British, alafu wanasongeshwa. Wanaenda into another agreement, wanasongeshwa. Kwa hivyo, some of the demands were, can we really deal with this land question? Kama sasa huko watu wanafukuzwa wakati wa COVID, kwa sababu kuna developer or whatever it is, and then there is an apology. If there is an apology, they should be brought back to where they were. So even those fundamental issues of land rights are not addressed. All those commissions, when there are problems, these regimes are good at making commissions. They make an Anglo-leasing commission, they make a Goldenberg commission, they make Waki, they make Krigla, they make Ndungu, they make all those things. Even IPPG and the Anan, commission, even our NCC, we had proposals about how to change our country. But those proposals are never listened to. Zinawekwa kwa mahali, vitu vinawekwa ukiwa hutaki. Ukiwa na problem, unatengeneza commission. Kama hii BBI. Badala ya actually to address the problems of Kenya, which are bringing Kenya to its knees, our attention is diverted into BBI. As the attention is diverted to BBI, things of COVID, health issues, daktari wanakufa, health personnel wanashida, pesa zimeliwa, zimeporwa, debt ni hiyo, vijana hakuna job, So they must look for a diversion. And in the process, decide that diversion also, itawasaidia kupata vio vile wanataka. So you can see that callousness of people who are treating fellow citizens in that way. Now, so instead of saying, how do we sort out if their problem is bad electoral law? In terms of dealing with that, they say, since every time we have elections, the people who have been used to being in power and cannot live without being in power, you can't live if it's not in water. Some of these people feel like fish. They can't live if they are not in political water. So they say, let us now make 5 positions in the executive. So that 5 of us, the biggies, the kingpins, ethnic kingpins, can be accommodated. And when that happens, Kenya will be happy, there will be development, there will be everything. And we know that that is not a solution, because even when they are in those cabinets, even when they are in a Nusumukate government, they are in a coalition government, they are in whatever government, the people continue to suffer. The issues of the day that must be resolved are not resolved. So it can only mean that they'll be together, they will enjoy themselves, na wanaendelea. And then, of course, they go back to their ethnic places and they tell the people, now your son or your daughter is part of the big group and we are okay. You will be provided for. And we know that there is no provision. Now, this process of BBI started, of course, as I've said earlier, and as you know, with a task force. Then that task force, the same people are made a steering committee through gazette notices. And we are told you must accept that through a gazette notice, we will begin a constitutional process, constitutional review process. And I have a kind of studied law for about 47 years now, and I've never known any other place where a constitution is begun that way, through Gazette notice. There is supposed to be a facilitative law. Initially, in the 80s, we struggled, and 90s, we struggled for quite a while just to settle on the process law. And the first one was amended and amended. And even when Zamba Ketonga came into the picture after the 2005 referendum, even when that happened, we still, had a new facilitative law, a new process law. Now, very interestingly, they have not even passed the referendum laws, because they have two, which they were supposed to merge, bills, and then process them through parliament. And those referendum bills zinasema jinsi, kwa mfano, sahihi zitakusanywa na jinsi zitakuwa verified, na jinsi the things that are happening already within those laws inasemekana zitakuwa namna gani. Lakini sasa wanafanya makeshift, wakijua kwamba sheria mna. Kama wanasema miezi 3 tutafanya hivi, na all that kind of stuff. So you can see the contempt that they have on the people of Kenya, that they know there is a law which they themselves are supposed to pass, and of course we debate it, there is public participation of it, and they are doing the constitution change without those laws. So when they pass them, if they pass them, I don't know whether we will, according to them, they'll take us to begin afresh. Because, for example, those laws are things that they are saying, those proposed laws, there are things are saying about, where, how you get the signatures, from which counties, or how many counties, all that kind of stuff. So one, wonders why you would hurry something when you are preparing laws to say how it should be done, and you think you are safe. Why the hurry? And of course, we have seen countries failing in the neighborhood and on the continent. But I think it's our duty to do whatever is humanly possible, so that during our watch as citizens, under Article 1 of the Constitution, we say no. However expensive it is, we say no. And we know when you commit to change, it is expensive. Even those katika vijiji who commit to change so that there is no police brutality, so that there is no kurushwa kutoka mahali mtu anakaa, maisha yake kuharibiwa, we know, that people are shot, some supply of guns, which the police always put beside the body. They are put there, and it is said somebody was trying to steal, or somebody was trying to do. We know all that, but we have no alternative. I don't think we have an alternative. So that is why I think the most urgent thing now is, can we focus on the implementation of the current constitution? Because in many ways, this regime does not prioritize implementing the constitution. The judges who are supposed to have been appointed have not been appointed. Court orders are disobeyed. Extrajudicial killings, the corruption, So one of the things I thought that we should do as a KLM is to have a status, and I think these are things you have discussed, to have a status of the implementation of the constitution, so that we can put this before Kenyans. We can say somebody is seeking to amend the constitution. This is the status of the constitution that we have. And we need to look at them kwa jicho, inaitwa mboni, kwa jicho, and ask them, if you have not amended this constitution, how are you going to, if you have not implemented this constitution, suppose we accept you pass another one. What guarantee is there that you are going to implement it? And if you find this one difficult to implement, it means you want now to pass another one to help you remove some of the provisions that you don't like implementing. Because that can only be the logic as far as are concerned. And critically, we need to ask ourselves, what are the problems of this country? And to insist that they should be worked on by the people, our leaders, ourselves, jointly. Because at this point in time, a Harambee is needed to deal with the problems that we have as a country. It's not just to say, government, do it. A Harambee is needed in my view. If the promoters of BBI, and we don't know who they are, the promoters of BBI, the Popular Initiative, we have not been told who exactly is the promoter. Because even within the proposed referendum laws, there has to be identified who is the promoter. Is it ODM? Is it Jubilee? Is it the government? Is it the BBI Secretariat? Is it who? Because they want it to be a popular initiative, and they are not saying who is that popular, who is doing this stuff. So, with all that kind of preparation, I really like the fact that KLM is bringing together all institutions which want to reform their country, actually to disrupt the way things are done. Today, there is language about disruption. Because when you do things the way you have always done them, you don't get any result. So, we must talk about disruption of all these systems so that we can get a new normal which helps the majority of our country across, everybody, because we care for every citizen of Kenya. There are many people in this country who can't do clean business. They are ripped off left and right. In this town or in other towns and so on, people who are hawking, people who are doing biashara hizo zao za kupata maisha. You know that they have no peace, they have no space. It's like they have no life, because it's not expected that they should also involve themselves in mobilizing, that their livelihood. So, people in the diaspora, people everywhere, we want to say that we will not allow our state to fail. It is failing, and we will try to stop that failure. We have to do that. And when we say this is good, even for those people who are in those high positions. It is good, because if the country is secure, it's secure for all of us. We are not interested in revenge politics, but we are interested in justice, in fairness, saying that this is what we must do to secure everybody in our country. And I think that since we have begged for dialogue, for national dialogue from these people, and they don't want it, it is now our duty to start dialogue, national dialogue from mashinani. Sisi wenyewe sasa tuseme, tutafanya mipango kutoka mashinani mpaka huko Nairobi, tuanze mazungumzo ya raia wetu wakisema shida ni nini za Kenya, shida zile wanakabiliana nazo, na ni njia gani ya kutatua shida hizo, na nchi yetu tutaipeleka mbele namna gani. And for me, I think that is very, very critical, because, okay, if you tell people, let us have a conversation, and they tell you no, they close the doors and the windows and everywhere else, and they close their ears, then you tell them, that's fine. We shall start our dialogue. We will go to the villages. We will go to all those places, and we shall ignite that disruptive dialogue to really say our country must be turned upside down so that it can become a humane country for all of us. And I know some of these things that we are saying, people can say, you know, those are dreamers, those are activists, those are guys who just speak in Nairobi, in wherever, and they don't go far, and ni kama achura. Wao wakinywa maji, hata tukifanya kelele, hakuna shida, tuendelee kufanya kelele, you know, that kind of stuff. But KLM, you know, and all these other organizations, we reach out, we come together, we say, if we want the same things, even with Linda, Katiba, or whatever, even if we want the same things truly, unless we don't want the same things, we need to work together. And the positive political parties, the reform-oriented political parties, with all the community organizations, and there should be a right of anybody who wants to get involved, not get involved in politics, we should respect that. But they'll be involved in mobilizing people, in civic education, in all that. We respect that. You know, work with the religious sector, work with the diaspora, work with the clean business, work with the academia, work with professionals, work with you know, all grassroots movements. Because those ones truly want change, because life there, as you know better than me, is very, very hard. And in this country, you rarely have pro-people political parties. Political parties are things that belong to people. They choose whoever they want. After the elections, they get another one, and they don't care. So part of our agenda must be also making sure that the political parties that are part of KLM are real pro-people parties with watu mashinani members, with katiba ya ukweli, with, you know, respect for, if it's nominations, respect for whatever, so that we can begin the equivalent of the earlier NC, the equivalent of TANU, CCM ya mwanzo ya Nyerere, so that really we can have a genuine political expression. And two things and I finish. One, hawa wajamaa, kwa sababu ninawafahamu, kwa sababu ya kuwa katika siasa kwa muda mfupi, wanajua kwenda grassroots. Wanachukua watu wale, wanasema mimi nikiwa katika chama hiki, chama cha watu wetu, tutatengeneza wave na nitashinda. So they pick up these candidates and they use these candidates close to the elections to mobilize those communities on ethnic basis, because they want to make an ethnic coalition. And they look for the opinion leaders, especially those politicals of, you know, many years ago, who go buying tea in those small hotels and telling people, hewa sasa inasema namna hii. So in a way, they have a perverted way of organizing the grassroots. And if we don't have a way of getting into the grassroots to defeat, you know, that wrong way of organizing people and enslaving them, then it means that we will work from the surface and not go deep. So that is why even this KLM must have expression. Every county, it goes to the ward and it goes to the polling station. But our idea is to talk about those things that first of all transform our country. A new ethos. So that we talk about them. And we, you know, it's hard work. But Kimathi would tell you, Mapinduzi is always hard work. Because you have to do that mindset thing so that you tell people, and they agree, and they tell you, you have dialogue, they tell you that these guys are not the only option. And indeed, they take you backwards. You know, so that's where, and people are organizing in the social justice movement, people are organizing at the grassroots, know that you have to, mtu unakaa na watu, unawasikiliza, wanakusikiliza, mnakuwa na mjadala, mpaka tunawaconvince kwamba disruption is necessary. This old stuff and old people and old ideas, will not help us. And of course, the youth are very critical, because if this message is bought by the youth, and a lot of you here are youth, if this message is bought by the middle classes, some of the professionals, some of the people who want to do clean business and all that, those ones can help us to also reach these grassroots, because that is where the contestation will be, not only in Kenya but on the continent. The last mile of change is at the grassroots, where the people are and where there's that conscientization needed, like Paul Freire, Walter Rodney, many people said, so that there can be change. Kwa hivyo sio lele mama, it is kazi ngumu. So I thought I should say that. Alafu nisome kitu cha mwisho cha siku ya leo. Alafu nimalize na ninashukuru. Mimi nime-apply kwa KLM, na hata nikauliza wa Kenya walete endorsement kupitia kwa inaitwaje, email. Na ninawashukuru sana. I want to take this opportunity to say hiyo kitu ilikuwa retweeted, watu wengi wameandika, even our enemies wameandika pia wakisema vitu vyao, na ingekuwa we are not an important force, they would not have worried. I have known in politics, they don't attack you if they think you are nothing. So if you are something, then they attack you. And when we go to the grassroots and we start that contestation, sasa hapo ndio, tutajua kwamba the people know we are serious, and already they know that this is a rebirth, of the movements, previous movements, which have wanted different for our country. So hii kitu niliandika kwa Kiingereza na Kiswahili, na kwa Kiswahili nilisema hivi, pamoja na ile ash tutakomboa 254. Kila jamii, nchi na jumuiya ina hadithi. Hadithi hii siku zote huhusu uhuru. Katika hadithi hiyo, kila wakati kuna wabaya, maadui wa maendeleo, wanaume, wanawake, vizuka au mazimwi, ambao wanataka kuharibu maisha ya baadaye ya taifa na kuwanyima watoto wa watu na vijana kesho yenye mafanikio na amani. Leo tunasherehekea ushindi dhidi ya wabaya wa ukoloni, lakini hatupaswi kufanya makosa ya kufikiria kwamba hatuna maadui tena. Mkoloni alikuwa adui dhahiri aliyejitangaza mwenyewe na nia yake kwa ujasiri. Walakini maadui tunaokabiliana nao leo wanaonekana na kuzungumza kama sisi, wanajifanya kuwa sehemu yetu, lakini wao sio sisi. Kwa kweli wanapingana nasi, hawatujali sisi au ustawi wetu, na wala hawavijali vizazi vyetu vijao. Huru sio kitu unachopigania mara moja na kukiweka kama picha ya kuonekana tu. Ni mapambano ya kuendelea kusonga mbele ili kufikia siku bora na timilifu zaidi. Kama ilivyo katika kila hadithi, kuna mashujaa ambao ni watu wenye nguvu na uwezo wa kuangamiza adui, lakini hawana habari. Shujaa aliyelala kwa kawaida huamka kwa wakati tu ili kumshinda adui na kuiokoa nchi. Shujaa wa Kenya amelala kwa muda mrefu sana. alipaswa kuamka miaka iliyopita. Maadui wa maendeleo wamekuwa na muda mwingi na maisha yao, wananenepa na kujistawisha, kuwa na sauti kubwa na ujasiri. Wanafikiri shujaa hataamka kamwe, kwa kuwa wanaamini wamemtuliza. Shujaa wa Kenya ni wewe. Kila nchi ina hadithi inayohusu uhuru, na nchi ya Kenya sio tofauti. Pamoja tutakomboa 254, 12th December 2020. If I can quickly read in English, please, if you allow. Together we shall redeem 254. Every society, every country, every community has a story, and the story is always about freedom. In the story, there are always villains, enemies of progress, men, women, ghosts, or monsters who want to destroy the future of the nation, to deny the children of the people and youth a future of prosperity and peace. Today, we celebrate the vanquishing of the villains of colonialism, but we must not make the mistake of thinking that we no longer have enemies. The colonialist was an obvious villain. He boldly advertised himself and his intentions. However, the enemies we face today look and talk like us. They pretend to be a part of us, but they are not us. They really are against us. They do not care about us or our well-being, and neither do they care about our future generations. Freedom is not something you fight for once and put on a pedestal, even in the pocket, to accompany you. It is about a continuous struggle to move forward, to reach a better and more fulfilling day. And just like in every story, there are heroes and heroines, individuals who possess the power and the ability to destroy the enemy, but they don't realize it. The sleeping hero or heroine usually wakes up just in time to vanquish the enemy and save the country. Kenya's heroine has been sleeping for far too long. She should have woken up years ago. The enemies of progress are having the time of their lives. They are growing fatter, louder, and bolder. They think the heroine will never wake up. They believe they have sedated the heroine. Kenya's heroine is you. Every country has a story, and that story is about freedom. Kenya is no different. Together, we shall redeem 254. Asanteni. Kongamano La Mageuzi.
Asante sana, Prof. It is such an honor. And when we hear those words, we get hopeful. Amesema revolution is not a dirty word. Did you hear that? I was taking notes. Amesema revolution is not a dirty word. They lie to us. Amesema freedom is not a portrait or something you carry in your pocket to accompany you. It is a continuous struggle. I hope the message is home. He also said, mashujaa wamelala sana for too long. Mashujaa wataamka. Yani you're confirming what Prof has said. Mashujaa wamelala. Mashujaa wataamka. We shall rise. We are rising. That is why we are here today. Because we are the people we have been waiting for. Tumeongea sana leo, and it is about time we take a break and reflect about all those things that we have spoken about. We are still on social media. We said our hashtags. Hashtag tunarise. Hashtag masafara si mafala. And when we say masafara, we're not glorifying poverty. We know exactly what we are worth. Nobody can take away our dignity, by the way. But that captures our very moment. Mali wametuweka. Na sasa tunawaambia tuko rada yao. Na sisi sio mafala. So please, as we are having this conversation here, please have that conversation online. So that people know that we are here and we are waiting for them. But ataka wakam, sit watatapatanga mbele tukishia. They will join us as we go. So we want to break for lunch. And when we come back, all these things that we have been saying, all these things that we've been working towards since April, so many of you have been part of this conversation where we got to a place and said, we don't care what your identity is. We don't care what movement you come from, what organization you come from. We are in shit as a country, and we need to shed off those identities and work towards a united front. It has been hard work. It's been long conversations. So in the afternoon, we want to interact with the charter that we have been working on for a very, very long time. And also have conversations on the way forward, the agreement. What are we agreeing as a people? What are we saying? This is not just any other day. So in the afternoon, please come with all your reflections. And I'm sure today, as we leave this room, we will have let out soldiers to go forth and liberate our country. Asanteni sana. As I said, my name is Njoki Gashanja, a member of KLM, and it is a pleasure to be with you all here. Now we can break for lunch. Asanteni sana. So we come back at 3:30. Ndio pia tusikae sana hapa. 3:30. We come back at 3:30.
Undugu ni kufaana Sitasimama maovu ya kitawala, sitasimama maovu ya kitawala. Hard to get wadhifa, una deserve, bila kasha makashfa. Hii society Kenya wanaeza, share ni nyungu ya busa ama keto ya shisha.